February 3rd, 2026. Federal agencies handed farmers a $48 billion promise. You finally have the right to repair your own gear. But when those same farmers reached for their wrenches, John Deere quietly locked the door behind a $195 a year fee per machine, with every repair tracked and streamed back to the company. What really changed, and who stands to lose, when legal victories come with new strings attached? On February 3rd, 2026, the Environmental Protection Agency, along with the USDA and the SBA, issued a joint announcement that rewrote the rules for farm equipment repairs. For the first time, federal guidance made it clear manufacturers could no longer use the Clean Air Act to keep repair tools and software out of farmers' hands. The new policy specifically allowed temporary overrides of emissions controls, provided the equipment was restored to compliance after a fix. This meant that when a tractor or combine broke down, often in the middle of harvest, farmers could legally bypass restrictive systems that once forced costly dealer visits and days of downtime. The agencies estimated the change would save the agricultural sector $48 billion, with some repairs that used to cost $33,000 now possible on the farm, by the owner, or at trusted local shops. EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin called out years of manufacturers misusing environmental law to monopolize repairs. USDA Secretary Brooke Rollins pointed to rising equipment costs and promised that the new rule would cut out unnecessary middlemen. For many, it felt like a long overdue correction, a legal green light that put control back in the hands of farmers who had been told for years that fixing their own machines was a federal offense. But the language of the guidance left the details of access, tools, and implementation to the companies themselves, opening a new chapter in the fight over who truly owns the right to repair. Across the Midwest and the Great Plains, the news spread quickly. Farm families gathered in machine sheds and local diners, reading headlines and sharing stories about EPA's announcement. After years of being told that fixing their own tractors could land them in legal trouble, the mood was electric. Some called it a turning point, a rare win for people who felt left behind by changing technology and rising costs. Farmers who had watched crops wither while waiting for dealer service now saw a future where a broken sensor or a faulty emissions code would not bring harvest to a halt. Local radio stations replayed clips of EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin, who did not mince words. He said, "Manufacturers have wrongly used the Clean Air Act to monopolize the repair markets." That line drew cheers at rural co-ops and FFA meetings. For many, the ruling felt like an overdue correction, a message that the people who work the land should have the final say over the machines they depend on. There was pride too, a sense of vindication after years of advocacy by farm groups and state legislators. Yet beneath the celebration, a few voices wondered how long the feeling would last, and what shape real access would take once the details landed back in corporate hands. Federal regulators had been circling John Deere for months before the announcement from the EPA. On January 15, 2025, the Federal Trade Commission, FTC, filed a lawsuit accusing the company of using its software and repair restrictions to stifle competition and drive up costs for farmers. The case put Deere's business practices under a national spotlight, drawing questions about who really controls modern farm equipment. As the lawsuit moved forward, Deere faced mounting pressure not only from the FTC, but also from state attorneys general and right-to-repair advocates demanding real change. Then, on June 3, 2025, Deere sent a formal letter to the EPA asking for clarity on whether temporary overrides of emissions controls would violate the Clean Air Act. The timing was no accident. With the FTC lawsuit underway and public scrutiny growing, Deere needed an answer that would shape its next move. The letter framed the request as a matter of regulatory certainty. The subtext was unmistakable. The company was preparing for a future where it could no longer use environmental law to lock out farmers and independent mechanics. Inside Deere's headquarters, legal teams and product managers began mapping out how to respond if the EPA sided with repair advocates. The company's planning was not just about compliance, it was about maintaining control. By the end of July 2025, Deere would unveil a new digital platform, Operations Center Pro Service, designed to fit within whatever guidance the government handed down. The legal and regulatory landscape had shifted, but the company was already positioning itself to define the terms of access long before the EPA made its ruling public. Operation Center PRO service officially launched on July 31st, 2025, with a wave of marketing that promised a new era of self-repair for John Deere owners. The rollout replaced the older customer service advisor, positioning Pro Service as a comprehensive digital platform for diagnostics, software updates, and machine health insights. Deere's press release described it as a tool for empowering customer choice, offering access to repair content filtered by machine model and year, as well as step-by-step instructions for troubleshooting and reprogramming. Denver Caldwell, Vice President of Aftermarket, said ProService delivers industry-leading diagnostic repair and reprogramming capabilities, designed to keep equipment running and minimize downtime. The launch materials highlighted real-time diagnostics, remote troubleshooting, and the ability to clear fault codes. All features that until now had been tightly controlled within dealer networks. PRO Service also introduced the promise of temporary emissions overrides, the very capability at the center of the EPA's new guidance. But those overrides would be available only through the PRO Service platform, tying the legal right to repair directly to Deere's new digital system. While the company's public messaging framed the platform as a leap forward for customer empowerment, the fine print revealed a different reality. Access to advanced repair tools, including the EPA authorized override, required enrollment in Operations Center Pro Service. The tool was ready and waiting months before the EPA's announcement, built to ensure that any new right granted by regulators would flow through Deere's own subscription-based infrastructure. A closer look at the numbers reveals the real cost of Deere's new repair access. The Operations Center Pro Service charges $195 per year for every single machine. A farmer with 5 tractors faces a $975 annual bill just to unlock the tools needed for legal repairs. For larger operations, the math climbs fast. 10 machines mean $1,950 a year, and the all-in-one fleet license costs $4,995. Independent repair shops, often the lifeline for rural communities, are hit even harder. They face a $5,995 yearly subscription, which covers up to 10 local installs. For many small-town mechanics, that price tag is simply out of reach. Meanwhile, John Deere's own dealer shops get access without paying these fees, giving them a built-in advantage over local competition. Even with a paid subscription, some advanced tests and calibrations remain off-limits at launch, with promises of future updates but no clear timeline. The result is a paywall that divides the repair economy and leaves many on the outside looking in. Every time a farmer powers up a John Deere machine linked to Operations Center PRO service, a steady stream of information flows to the cloud. JD-Link telematics records fuel usage, engine hours, travel speeds, idle times, and even the exact GPS location of every tractor or combine on the property. The system tracks planting rates, fertilizer and chemical applications, yield data, and maintenance history, without a way to selectively turn off individual data points. Each repair, every diagnostic code, and all machine activity are logged and stored in the Operations Center account. Independent experts warn that this level of surveillance gives the manufacturer the ability to monitor not just the health of the machine, but the daily routines and business decisions of the farmer. Willie Cade of Farm Action calls it total control. She says, ownership should mean control. But now, Every repair is another data point sent straight to the manufacturer. Nathan Proctor, a leading right-to-repair advocate, points out that the promise of open repairs is hollow when access depends on constant connectivity and full transparency to the company. In one recent harvest, a farmer stranded by limp mode tried to clear a fault code, only to be blocked by a subscription prompt and a failed cloud handshake. Deere declined to comment when asked whether farmers could ever fully opt out or repair offline. For those working the land, the price of access is no longer just money. It is their privacy, too. Today, the right to repair sits behind a $195 paywall, each fix monitored, every step logged. As technology advances, real ownership hangs on who controls the software keys. The next harvest will test not just crops, but the meaning of owning the tools that feed us all.